Supreme Court's journey reflects evolution in rights and reach. CGI 75 years have transformed the court and yet it stands anchored in its foundational mission, he says at the ceremonial bench. Chief Justice of India Sanjeev Khanna, speaking at the ceremonial bench held today to commemorate the closure of Diamond Jubilee of the Supreme Court on Tuesday, said the three challenges before the court are pendency, which continues to delay justice, mounting litigation costs, and the most foundational of them all, practice of falsehood. While the court's just journey reflects remarkable evolution in rights and reach, three challenges demand our attention. First, the weight of arrears, which continues to delay justice. Second, mounting costs of litigation threaten true accessibility. And third, perhaps most fundamentally, justice cannot thrive where and when falsehood is practiced. These challenges mark the next frontier in our pursuit for justice. 75 years have both transformed the Supreme Court and yet it stands anchored in its foundational mission. This transformation reflects the deeper recognition that justice must be both principled and practical. In doing so, it makes the constitutional promise of justice, social, economic, and political, a living reality for millions of individuals. The CGI said the 2 decades of 21st century stands as a testament to the Supreme Court's evolving role in our constitutional framework. ISRO set for a historic 100th launch from Sriharikota. The GSLV F-15 mission will lift off in early hours of Wednesday. The first launch, SLV-3 EI-E10, has taken place in August 1979 when former President Abdul Kalam was the director of the mission. The Indian Space Research Organisation will, in the early hours of Wednesday, oversee the 100th launch from the Space Dhawan Space Center of the GSLV F-15 mission. The first launch on August 10, 1979 was the experimental flight of satellite launch vehicle SLV-3 carrying the Rohini technology payload, which was only partially successful. According to the space agency, former President of India APJ Abdul Kalam, who was then with the ISRO, was the director of the mission. Dr. Kalam and ISRO officials recovered from the setback and tasted successes with SLV 3E2 a year later. After this, ISRO launched two more SLV missions, four augmented satellite launch vehicle missions, 62 missions from its workhorse Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle GSLV missions, seven launch vehicle Mark III missions, and three small satellite launch vehicle missions, one reusable launch vehicle mission, one test vehicle abort mission, one pad abort test, and part of Gaganyaan program. The location of the spaceport on the East Coast was decided upon the founding members of the Indian Space Program due to its unique features like good launch azimuth corridor for various missions, nearness to the equator uh, benefiting eastward launches, and large uninhabited area for safety zone that has made Sriharikota the ideal site location for spaceport. Among the landmark missions were India's lunar mission, including the PSLV, including the PSLV C-11 Chandrayaan-1 in 2008, GSLV Mark III Chandrayaan-2 in 2019, and LVM M4 Chandrayaan-3 in 2023. which made India the first country to touch down in the polar region of the moon. The PSLV C-25 Mars orbital mission in 2013 was another important launch in which India's first interplanetary mission, and the PSLV C-57 Aditya L1 in 2023 was India's first mission to study the moon. Another watershed moment was the launch of PSLV C-37 Cartosat 2 series in 2017. During the mission, ISRO launched a record 104 satellites in a single flight. This was record till 2021 when it was broken by the SpaceX Falcon 9 that launched 143 satellites. It has not been all rosy for the space agency and the launch pad, as there have been multiple features including GSLV F2, INS INSAT 4C in 2006, GSLV D3, GSAT 4, etc. Had frank, in-depth talk on issues of concern, says China. China on Tuesday said it stressed the need for proper handling differences and promotion of India-China relations on the stable track in just concluded talks with the Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. In its readout in Mandarin, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said the dialogue focused on promoting the implementation of important consensus reached by the leaders of China and in the Kazan meeting on the sidelines of the BRICS summit last year, and discussed measures to improve and develop China-India relations. In the talks, China emphasized that the two sides should proceed from the fundamental interest of China and India and adhere to the strategic height and long-term perspective of the China-India relations. Both sides should actively promote dialogue, exchanges, and practical cooperation with a frank and constructive attitude, positively guide public opinion, increase trust and resolve misgivings, properly handle differences, and promote development of ties on a healthy and stable track. The two sides held a frank and in-depth exchange of views on issues of mutual concern. It highlighted the consensus reached between the talks, which included the resumption of direct flights, Kailash Mansarovar Yatra for Indian pilgrims, and a meeting of the India-China expert-level mechanism to discuss the resumption of the provision of sharing hydrological data pertaining to transborder rivers. Highlighting the issues of consensus reached between two sides, it said India has expressed its willingness to fully support China's work on rotating presidency of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization this year and will actively participate in various activities hosted by Beijing under the framework of this organization. Replace a regular table salt with lower sodium salt substitutes that contain potassium. WHO. While the international body has already recommended reducing sodium intake to less than 2 grams a day, it has proposed a set of guidelines with lower sodium salt substitutes that contain potassium. This recommendation is for adults and excludes individuals with kidney impairment. The emphasis on salt with so many recommendations, but how much to consume it is because huge impact on its human physiology. Sodium contained in salt and water travel together in human body explains salt forces the body to retain water, so eating too much salt means more water in the blood vessels, raising blood pressure. Reducing salt consumption, therefore, reduces the load on the system by significantly decreasing the volume of blood, thus impacting directly positively on the blood pressure. This will have an ameliorative effect on cardiovascular diseases, health, and prevent strokes. There is enough evidence to stridently endorse reducing salt as an effective way to reduce non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular diseases and chronic kidney disease. By lowering blood pressure, it also risks the other conditions with high sodium intake such as gastric cancer. OpenAI, maker of ChatGPT, questioned jurisdiction of Indian courts In copyright case, OpenAI Global LLC, the maker of ChatGPT, repeated an argument in the Delhi High Court that it cannot be sued for copyright infringement in Indian courts as its of use bind users to pursue either arbitration or legal action in the courts of California. The hearing came as two industry bodies, FIP and DNPA, intervened in the case filed by the news agency Asian News International. OpenAI's terms of use are under exclusive jurisdiction of courts in California. The court issued notice to OpenAI and DNPA and the FIP's interventions with a reply expected within 2 weeks. The litigation holds the potential to shape the future of AI research, development, and deployment in India with implications that could resonate for years to come. Developer of unlawfully using their publicly available content to train its AI models and has asserted that this constitutes copyright infringement. Hyundai Motor Quarter 3 net slips 19%. Revenue from operations dipped 1.3%. SBI Card's net profit declines 30% on delinquencies. Israel defies UN and vows to cut ties with UNRWA. Bangladesh hikes repeating Hasina's government errors human rights was. Trump plans to revise Pentagon's policy on transgender troops. 176 people aboard evacuated as South Korean airplane catches fire. The tail of the passenger aircraft caught fire in an airport in South Korea's second largest city on Tuesday, forcing the evacuation of 176 people on board. The Air Busan plane, bound for Hong Kong, caught fire at 10:30 p.m. Troops battle Rwanda rebel groups backed rebel as protests erupt in Congo's capital. Demonstrators attacked several foreign embassies, including those of Rwanda, France, and Belgium. UN says humanitarian situation in Goma is extremely worrying, with the hospital coming under attack, killing newborns and pregnant women. Security forces of the DRC were fighting on Tuesday against Rwanda-backed rebels who advanced into a keystone city in major escalation of decades. Goma is regional trade and humanitarian hub holding thousands of more than 6 million people displaced by Eastern Congo's prolonged conflict over ethnic tensions. Pak Senate passes a bill that can curtail freedom of speech. Serbia PM quits in attempt to calm anti-Gulf project. Serbia's populist Prime Minister Milos Vesic resigned on Tuesday in an attempt to calm political tensions and pressure roiled by weeks of massive anti-corruption protest. Qatar reaffirmed support of two states as Trump moots relocation of Gazans. Train services stop across Bangladesh as union strikes. I still think Sindhu can be competitive. It's about how efficient she becomes. Hosting Olympics will take Indian sports to new heights. Prime Minister 2036 Olympics, which will take Indian sports to new heights. Unearthing hidden gems in the land of Great Barrier Reef, the Happy Slam was fun to remember for Tien Bliss and Fonseca as they proved what hungry, motivated next-gen players can do. A new study records when the Nicobarese people came to the island. Due to its geographical isolation, the ancient Nicobarese tribe has preserved its gender identity without significant admixture with different populations. By comparing the differences in mutations between their genetic ancestors, scientists were able to trace their arrival on Nicobar Islands. Deep, DeepSeek AI model jolts global tech landscape. A new player in the artificial intelligence race, Chinese startup DeepSeek has created a buzz in global reach tech circles with the launch of cutting-edge AI models, claiming they nearly match the capabilities of top industry leaders in the US, all while being far more affordable. The company's AI model DeepSeek R1 has ignited a fresh debate over the shifting dynamics of the global AI market. Monday night's trading session on the Wall Street left big tech companies reeling as investors scrambled to make sense of the damage. Sri Lankan Navy fires at Indian boat, two fishermen injured. Modi likely to visit US to deepen ties, says Trump. US President, however, adds a new dimension to the relationship soon after a telephone call with the Prime Minister, calling for a putting America first in trade relations with major economies. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is likely to visit Washington to DC in February, US President Donald Trump has said in an announcement that came hours after Mr. Trump and Modi spoke over the phone on Monday. The White House called for a fair bilateral trading relationship and indicated that India would host a leaders of quadrilateral grouping in the coming months. The two leaders discussed expanding and deepening cooperation. They also discussed arranging regional issues, including security in the Indo Pacific, Middle East, and Europe. President emphasized the importance of increasing the procurement of America made security equipment and moving towards a fair bilateral relationship. The leaders discussed plans for Mr. Modi. The leaders discussed plans for Mr. Modi to visit the White House, underscoring the strength of friendship and strategic ties between our nations. Both leaders emphasized their commitment to advance US India strategic partnership and Indo Pacific Quad partnership, with India hosting Quad leaders for the first time later this year. Mr. Modi on Monday said he had a telephone conversation with Trump and he had agreed to work for global peace and security, congratulated him on historic second term. We are committed to mutually beneficial and trusted partnership, Prime Minister said. However, President Trump added a new dimension to the relationship soon after holding the telephone call, putting America first in the trade relation with major economies. We are going to put tariffs on outside countries, Mr. Trump told gathering House of Representatives in Florida. 7 dead, 60 injured after a makeshift tent collapses at a religious event in UP. Stalin says only DMK persisting in fight to ensure social justice after Supreme Court order pastor laid to rest in Chhattisgarh. Siddaramaiah airs concern over failing conviction rate in SC/ST atrocity cases in Karnataka. Ram Rahim walks out of jail on 30-day parole. Bihar Deputy CM Sinha alleges 26 crore scam over Tejaswini's watch. Dibrugarh as Assam's second capital, behind BJP's gambit for 26th assembly election. Priyanka seeks steps to ensure safety of people in Wayanad. Munambam panel awaits High Court verdict on appointment. Building collapse, two girls among five killed in Burari, builder held. Case for Malayalam filmmaker over contentious Facebook post on actor. On charge of stalking the same actor in May 2022. NTSA seeks report on tiger's death. NTSA has sought report from Kerala Forest Department on death of tiger in Wayanad on Monday. The animal had killed a tribal woman Radha a few days ago. So this was it for today. See you in the next one.